Glorious.
Welcome to The Basement. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to The Basement. I'm Nolo.
Jose.
And today we got a special guest today. Special guest, introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? My name is Marcus Thompson of the Too Smart Dummies Sports Podcast.
Awesome. And
when you say too smart, not two people.
No, two people, right? You got a co-host.
Yeah, I got a co-host.
Okay.
Yeah, so two, like, number two.
They're like too smart, like way too smart.
Yeah, okay. That's a good question, though.
So we connected through Reddit, just on the podcasting subreddit, right? That's what it was, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think for the next few guest episodes, we'll do some people from Reddit, from other podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually find that Reddit, that subreddit is pretty dope. I've hosted a few podcasts now, and I found a co-host for one of the ones I used to do on Reddit as well. So that podcasting subreddit has been good to me.
Oh yeah, I never really got into the subreddit, the podcasting one. I just did it on a whim, because we're having like guest conflicts, like timing wise. So I was like,
Right.
I want to try some remote guests. So I figured, what's the best place to find guests that want to actually record, and that'd be on Reddit.
Yeah, I found a lot of helpful information on that subreddit. So I definitely encourage people, if you're interested in podcasting or improving your own podcast or just learning about how to get into it, to check out that subreddit.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we figured that the best topic that we can cover, because you do a sports podcast, and me and Jose never even talk about sports.
We probably can't even spell sports together.
Hey, but you know what? That's fine. I talk about sports so much that it's actually like a relief to not talk about sports. So I know a lot of the guys who claim to be, or who are massive sports fans like myself, they tend to steer the conversation that way, and it's actually refreshing when I don't have to talk about sports.
So it's funny. So like on a previous podcast, I always wear like a different hat. And I used to always wear like a Yankee hat or, a Nets hat or something like that. But people always ask me, oh, how about those Yankees or something? And I have no idea what to say after that. So I stopped actually wearing sports hats. Started wearing.
That's probably a good call, especially if you live in New York. I mean, because I've been in New York a few times. I spent a lot of time in New York, and I know how passionate they are about their Yankees.
Yes, a little too passionate if you ask me.
Probably so. That can go for any fan base.
So the one subject that we both thought we might have some commonplace is conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah, I subscribe to a lot of the odd conspiracy theories out there.
Ooh. So do you follow any subreddits for conspiracy theories? Or no?
I look at them sometimes, but I thought that I was kind of weird with it, but there's some dudes out there that's just on some strange stuff.
No, yeah, for sure.
I just, some of them are a little too much for me, but the main ones I try to keep up with is just the everyday ones, the JFK, 9/11, did we land on the moon, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the king of conspiracy theories we all know is our good friend Alex Jones.
Rest in peace. He's banned from everything.
Oh my goodness! Thank goodness.
It's funny. So years ago, like maybe like 6-7 years ago, me and a buddy of mine were like deep in the conspiracy theory rabbit holes, and we went into and that's when we fell on conspiracy theories. Like, man, I gotta reach back in my mind to all these conspiracy theories we always used to talk about.
Right.
So some of them are actually conspiracy theories, but they're actually true. Some of them turned out to be true, right? So one of them, I don't know if you ever one called MKUltra.
Yeah, that's where like cats are taking over your mind or whatever, or I don't know it in depth, but I do know I know the lines of what you're talking about.
Yeah, so basically, I think it started off as an experiment in a college. I think it was Stanford, if I'm not wrong. I should have wrote it down, but yeah, it was they would give people, I think it was like acid and LSD, and they would give them like electroshock and hypnosis, trying to basically turn them into a double agent, sort of, right?
Right.
So for a long time, people were saying, "Oh, that never happened. That's just conspiracy theory," and then it finally came out that actually, yes, it did happen. So there's a few conspiracy theories from back in the day that actually turned out to be true. Later on, we figured out.
The first I heard of MKUltra was actually very recently. It was like, it wasn't used for like turning people into double agents, but it was along the lines of like celebrities. Like Wendy Williams passed out on her show recently. By recently, I mean probably like 6 months ago. And Al Roker, another famous one where like he was on the Today Show and he just kind of glitched out.
I saw that. I did see that one.
Yeah, so kind of crazy. But if y'all ever Google like Wendy Williams passing out on her show,
oh, we saw that one.
yeah, it's crazy, right? Like her body just shut down. It wasn't like passing out from a heat stroke or whatever they tried to play it off, exhaustion as they tried to play it off. It was like her body, because it looked like she saw a ghost and then her body just shut down. So
yeah, so
but that was the first that I'd ever heard of MKUltra, and doing a little bit of digging. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced that stuff is still quite common.
Yeah. So a lot of this stuff is, like I said, back in the day they thought it was fake, but now they figured out that it's actually real. So another one is, you ever heard of one called Operation Paperclip?
I have not.
So Operation Paperclip happened after World War II, I think it was. Yeah, World War II. So after the Allies beat the Axis powers, they had all these Nazi scientists that they were like, all right, they're going to put them on trial basically for, the atrocities that they did. But between the United States and the Soviet Union, they're like, let's take these scientists and use them for our own, right? So the United States actually pulled scientists from the Nazi party and had them recruit in the United States military. And they actually started the space program. Those Nazis, I think one of them was Wernher von Braun. I don't know, do you see it there? Wernher von Braun is the one that started the V2 rocket. That you see it there? Oh yeah, there it goes. It's Wernher. So Wernher von Braun. So he did the V2 rocket. That rocket is the one that, when you see the space shuttle launch from back in the day, that it was a big red cylinder with the two small ones. He basically invented that.
Sputnik?
Sputnik is Russia.
Yeah, Sputnik was Russia.
Actually, you know what? I think Operation Paperclip, those scientists were part of that too. So between the United States and the Soviet Union, they basically split up the scientists. And those scientists, even though they did a lot of crazy stuff, they did not face any consequences for what they've done.
So they were just aerospace. They became aerospace engineers, is what you're saying?
Yep.
Instead of Nazi scientists, I suppose.
Yeah, and the United States actually kept them protected. If I remember correctly, they actually changed their names and everything to make sure nobody found them.
Oh, I think I heard of this.
Well, I mean, that's not super surprising, I guess.
Yeah. And just on the same topic, just because we're already into this, I also heard one recently that a lot of the, when the war was over, a lot of the Nazis escaped, especially the more affluent ones. They escaped to Argentina, right? So do you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast?
To who?
Joe Rogan.
Oh, Joe Rogan? Yeah, sometimes.
So he had a guest on, I can't forget the guy's name, something Kennedy, that he was on. He has his own show that he dives into the Nazis that went into South America, to Argentina. He said that there's literally towns in Argentina that they only speak German.
Huh.
And Argentina's a South American Spanish speaking country, but these places they only speak German. Yellow hair, blue eyes, people that live there. And
I think that would be easy to spot. Argentina is a large country, but you'd think that would be easy to point out.
So what he was saying was that the government at the time, the Argentinian government, they were fascists. So they invited the Nazis over and they gave them an area on a mountain, and they're like, you can have this area, whatever. So I think right now we're at their grandchildren, and this guy said that he went there to go visit, to check. And that the people came out with Nazi medals from their grandfathers from being in the war,
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Some of these conspiracy theories are actually true.
Yeah, I mean, I find that there's probably a little truth to most conspiracy theories. I mean, again, you talk about guys like Alex Jones or whatever, and some of that stuff's a little bit loony, but
turning the frogs gay.
That stuff, the whole. The government used Sandy Hook. It was fake. They used actors, and they wanted to turn it into Obama wanted to ban guns or whatever. It just, stuff like that. You just it kind of discredits all the other conspiracy theories that may be out there.
One of the last things I heard Alex Jones talking about was, I think this was during the presidential run, and one of the last things he was saying was that Obama had a party, but and had ordered food, 25,000 wieners or hot dogs, right? I forgot how he phrased it. And he's yelling whatever. And he's like, the wieners stand for little boys to rape them. I'm just like, what?
That's why he got banned. Stuff like that.
What do you want, sir?
Yeah, stuff like that's why he got banned. Stupid.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a Looney Tune, man. It's like, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you lay on, but it's just, there's human beings out there that follow him and every word that he says, and it's crazy, man.
It's like a cult.
It's got to be. I mean, I don't know how you brainwash that many people, but yeah, I'm glad he's banned. I mean, the dude's just out of his mind.
Yeah. So there's actually a set of conspiracy theories called false flag operations. It's like a subsect. Now, false flag operations are basically saying that the government wanted to get into war, so they set something up to make it look like some other country did it, so they could get into that war. So an example of that would be 9/11.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where people say, hey, look, George Bush did it so he could get in war with Iraq and take the oil. So
right.
I don't know how much... what was that? So I don't know how much evidence there is for that. I watched hundreds of YouTube videos of like mini explosions coming from the bottom of the tower or through the windows as it was collapsing, and they were saying there was explosions inside the building before it actually collapsed. But I think a lot of that, is just the actual collapse of the building is flushing air out of the windows.
So there are some clips that are pretty defined in the sense of that there's enough footage that you have to question it. It does come to question.
Like the Building 7 or something like that?
Yeah. So, and then there's a lot of the videos that you and I have seen, I'm sure you've seen it as well, is that, when they take down buildings, it's done in a certain way.
It's demolition style.
Right. And the demolition style, the beams, the TNT is set up in a diagonal position to cut diagonally so the buildings can fall directly on top of each other, right? So a lot of that is, when you start watching these videos and seeing the technicalities of demolition and what it entails to take down a building in that manner, you can't help but to question it. Is it possible? That's one of the things I'm constantly saying. You can neither prove, you can't prove it and you can't deny it, right? At the end of the day, we can't prove it or deny it. We can't physically come up with evidence to support.
Yeah, I think one of the more
argument.
we kind of talked about it in private with the plane that crashed. I think it was in Pennsylvania. Remember that it crashed?
Yeah, that was shot down.
Yeah. Okay, so that's an example because we're like, okay, for instance, the planes crashed into the towers, they crashed into the Pentagon, and by that point they already knew something was going down. So they saw the one flying towards the White House, and they must have shot it down. There's no way. I mean, they could have fought it off and crashed it, but the fact that there was no debris left behind, if you look at the actual footage of it, like
that's the biggest thing. There was no debris left behind. There was no part of a plane that, was left at that Pennsylvania site. But here's the thing. So I'm not convinced that a plane actually hit the Pentagon either.
Yeah, definitely.
People in Washington say they never saw a plane. That was a missile. Because something did hit the Pentagon, but it wasn't an airplane. And then, when people ask me about, why I don't believe it, why I think 9/11 was an inside job, because how could the government do this to us? They would never, blah, blah, blah. I always just say, well, explain Building 7 to me.
Yeah.
So you get two planes that hit buildings that are built specifically to withstand an airplane hitting them, and yet they both collapse in the exact same way. So you're telling me that these two planes had to hit them perfectly, and they both fell demolition style, and then a building that wasn't hit by a plane that had like 3 or 4 floors on fire also fell the same way.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
And not only that, there's been fires in buildings before and after
Right.
that hasn't collapsed.
I mean,
Building 7 did not have, what is it? They call it jet fuel.
Right. There's been planes that have hit houses that haven't collapsed. So,
Yeah.
you know, again, if you go back and watch videos of people being interviewed about 9/11, the one thing that they all say, if they were in New York City, is who I'm speaking of, is that they all say the word explosions.
Yeah.
Loud explosions, loud explosions. It was explosions. And basically, yeah, it sounds like a bomb was going off, which if you know anything about demoing a building, they set basically dynamite or some sort of controlled explosives at the base of a building. And when the building goes up, or when the explosives are blown, typically what happens is it's raised in the middle and then collapses from the middle, just how those buildings were, how the 2 World Trade Centers collapsed. So you'll never get me to believe that was a terrorist attack.
Yeah, because it's also suspicious if you think about it. If the plane crashed that center, whatever.
well, they
point-
didn't crash exactly the same and not at same levels.
No, but I'm saying is that maybe the top portion could have fell off of the building, but why did it fall like a pancake? Bah, 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 both buildings,
Right.
3 buildings, really.
Yeah, that's just
That's
like
very unusual.
Marcus was saying. So we all know the Freemasons, the 1%ers got together. Was like, we got to redecorate over here, and we need a reason to get oil. So
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, Mark. Do you believe in the Illuminati?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things to where like there's all types of secret groups, I'll say, that run the country. I mean, you even look at something that's out in the open, like the Rothschilds, you know, or people who, you know, elect the president for you, so to say, or pick the candidate who is going to run and usually win the presidency. Yeah, I think there's a ton of stuff that's hidden in plain sight, especially when in terms of the Illuminati. Yeah, I think that there's enough evidence that points to that being a real deal thing.
Yeah, because, okay, so people conflate, I guess, the Illuminati and the Freemasons and all these secret organizations together. And I do believe that there's a handful of people that have power over the world, right? For instance, you have, the Queen or whatever from England. Because think about it, England alone conquered damn near half the world, right?
Right.
I would say the United States government, especially after World War II, we've got, tremendous power in this world. I would also say the Pope. The Pope has a lot of power, especially in South America. Everybody in South America is Catholic.
Yep.
Who else would you say would be part of this group? Putin? I don't know.
That's kind of the main deal. I mean, you would say the Chinese government, but
They're so
it's just, basically you can just say the main powers that be. There's a reason that most of our civilizations that are thriving, or the ones that are perceived to be in power, are considered the ones who are running the world.
So I think that's actually not the case. I think those are the puppets, and the real people that truly run the world, they're not registered in any system. Yet they can make themselves whatever they want, wherever they want, at any time and point. Those are the people who are really the wealthiest, the people in power. Because true power, in order for me to have true power, I would want to exist. I would want to exist, but not exist in the world at all, right? If I truly had power, I would be invisible.
Correct.
Yeah.
So those individuals that we don't have the names, those are the ones that are ban us real soon in this episode.
So
real quick,
yeah,
I want to kind of go backwards real fast. We kept talking about 9/11 and how we were in Iraq for oil. But one thing that I want to point out before we go back to the one we were just on is just the fact that no one ever questions why we were in 2 different wars. I'm speaking of Afghanistan and of Iraq.
Yeah.
And no one also questions the timing of opioid addictions. But our biggest import of heroin is actually in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So
I heard of this.
That's another reason that we went to war with two different countries. I mean, no one can ever explain like, well, why the hell are we? Why do we bomb Baghdad? Why are we in Iraq and why are we in Afghanistan? And the common denominator is heroin and oil for both of those wars.
Yeah, and I heard also that there's cases of military members saying we're guarding opiate fields in Afghanistan.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what we're. I mean, think about opioids and how they've really started to take over, and it's become an epidemic over the last 15 years that wasn't very heavy. I mean, it's kind of like the war on drugs and what that did to the black communities in the 80s. We basically ushered in drugs and guns into the black communities. You talk about crack cocaine, you talk about a lot of these heroin, you talk about a lot of these drugs that basically black people really had no access to at the time. I mean, you look even to kind of jump to another conspiracy theory, you talk about how Chicago is the most dangerous city in America, quote unquote, but how are these people who are in these neighborhoods getting guns? And one thing points to police or the government leaving guns or putting guns into those neighborhoods, just like in the 80s they put crack cocaine into the black neighborhood.
Yeah, there's a book written about it called Kill the Messenger, and it's a CIA agent that said, yes, we did sell crack cocaine in LA to the minority black Hispanic communities. And so that's also a conspiracy theory that people thought that's crazy, the CIA would never do that, and then eventually it came out that yes, they did do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of them to where you can point to so as someone who is African American, I have really read up on a lot of this stuff, and you see that there just came a point to where there was an attack on the black community. I mean, as always for the last, I don't know, hundreds of years, but specifically in the 80s when they started locking black men up for any and everything. So you really create, I guess more late 70s, early 80s, and you really created this generation of no fathers being present in the home, which created all these gangs and gang violence in both Chicago, LA, Detroit, wherever the case may be. And now there's a lot of economic factors that go into that too, but
it's like a domino.
There's a reason.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah, right. It's systematic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of documentaries out there that point to the system being set up against people of color.
No, 100%. I see it happen every day. Every day. I live through it. Let's be real. So
absolutely.
Okay, so real quick, just because, just to show people, like we never even talked about this. This is the first time me and you talking. So I didn't know that you were an African American. Do you call you African American? You call yourself black? How do you refer to yourself?
I'm black. Yeah, okay. I typically don't like the term African American, but I just prefer.
That's like my wife. My wife doesn't like that term either. She likes to because she's black, but she's not from Africa. Her parents are from
what's the term? Black?
Yeah, my wife would rather be called black too because she's like from Barbados. I don't want to hear black.
Yeah. Technically, I'm biracial, so my mother is white, but my father is black, and I don't identify as white under any circumstances. I am black all day, every day, and my dad is his family's from New York, but my grandmother is from the Dominican Republic.
Oh, nice.
Excuse me, that is not true. We are from the West Indies, from St. Lucia.
Oh, I went there. I went there on my honeymoon.
Yeah, it's beautiful there.
It's off the chain.
So, Dominican Republic is on top of mine because I went vacation there. But so we're from the West Indies. So my dad's technically a first generation American, but his dad his dad and his grandfather, they're all from South Carolina, and they were actually slaves. So but to answer your question, no, we didn't talk about that at all.
So it's cool. So like you're sort of like almost everybody I hang out with over here from West Indians, you know what I'm saying? Like, because me and my partner, we're Puerto Ricans, right?
Okay.
But where we grow up at, I mean, every neighborhood I ever lived in has always been like that. But, okay, so I lived in Albany for about a year. I moved upstate.
Okay, my family's from Buffalo, so upstate,
Yeah, so I had a friend, right? So we used to work together. So it's weird up there, right? It's not racism. It's just a separation. Like, they don't hate each other. They just don't hang out with each other, right?
It's a class thing, kind of.
Yeah. So I worked in a factory because I'm Puerto Rican. I kind of mix into both. So every once in a while, I'll go to one side of the factory where the white guys were. They're playing rock and roll, drinking, whatever. Mind you, it was a 12-hour shift overnight, so nobody really, there was like no rules. But then I would go to the other side of the factory, all the black and Hispanic guys that were smoking weed, playing hip-hop music, right?
Right.
So I would hang out with this dude. Man, I forgot his name. It was so long ago. And we used to always get high. So that's probably why I don't remember his name. But he's from South Carolina. So we started talking about, where your family's from. And I asked him, I was like, oh, but where you're from? He's like, oh, no, I'm black. I was like, oh, no, but you're like your ancestry. Like, where's it from? He's like, South Carolina. No, I was like, but like where? Because in New York, like I just said, a lot of people, you ask them further, they're like, oh yeah, West Indies or Dominican Republic. Right. So I was just asking him, no, but Haiti, like, whatever. Yeah.
He didn't know.
And he was like, no, you were just from South Carolina. And that's when it hit me. I was like, wow, your family are from slavery. Because you don't. Yeah, I mean, you don't reach.
There's only 10% of black people here whose family is not from slavery. So it's whether they know it or not. 9 times out of 10, if you're black, you're a descendant of slaves.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Would in this scenario that you're mentioning, wouldn't it be that his at one point, one of his great grandparents or grandparents or maybe his parents just decided not to tell the story, pass it along
about where they're from?
Where they're from?
They probably didn't know. Think about it. If they were born in slavery, they probably barely even talk to their parents. You know what I'm saying? They probably lost all that.
Yeah, I mean, if they knew their parents, I mean, slavery was so complicated that.
That's one of the things people don't know. Like, slavery wasn't just you're a slave and you got your kids. They'll separate families.
You believe in that Ancestry.com that they could give you all that information? How?
Yeah, they could. I think so.
I mean, so I did 23andMe, which came back with some kind of odd results. But I'm very interested in doing the.
Now the government has your DNA.
Yeah.
What?
Now the government has his DNA now.
Yeah, I fucked that. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can swear on here. I apologize.
No, it's cool, man.
You're good.
I definitely messed up in that regard. But, so I'd be curious to see specifically where in Africa my family came from. And it's funny because I was on vacation in the Dominican Republic recently. And, it's funny how ignorant, and I don't mean that as an insulting way, but I mean, it's ignorant how Americans are, or how ignorant Americans can be. So we have a lot of people in the Dominican Republic that are black, obviously, just like anywhere else in the Caribbean. And I was with a bunch of my white friends, and they couldn't figure out why these black people, or people who look like me, had light eyes, or whatever the case may have been, spoke Spanish. They just couldn't figure out why. And I was like, you guys ever heard of the slave trade?
Yeah,
I mean,
word.
The Spanish you speak the language of your oppressors. So the same reason that my black ass speaks English is the same reason these guys speak Spanish. I mean, it's just you speak the language of, your oppressors, basically.
Yeah, so a buddy of mine, he's Dominican. So me and him are having a conversation. We were talking about ancestry, like way before, whatever. We're from Puerto Rico, but before that. And I told him, I was like, we don't have that. We don't have before that because me and you, our races were born through slavery.
Right.
Puerto Ricans are a mix of black, Spanish from Spain, and the Taino Indians. And Dominicans are the same way. The black slaves, the Spanish conquerors, and the native Tainos that were there. And I was like, our nationality, our race, whatever you want to call it, we were born from slavery. And that goes with a lot of
slave trade. It literally birthed. Who knows how many nationalities from that.
Yeah. That's crazy. Wow. I didn't expect to get into the conversation. Really good.
Yeah. So I like I said, I always enjoy having these kind of conversations. So I'm grateful that you guys had me on.
Oh man, this is a great conversation. I mean, how long have you been recording for?
We've been recording.
So real quick, I don't want, because there's still some conspiracy theories I want to ask you questions.
Hold on a second. I just want to make a brief little comment. The Earth is flat. All right. I drove down to Florida, and they hide it with all those freaking trees to cover.
Oh, they put the trees to block so you don't see far.
All through the highways, all trees.
So you're from Arkansas, right?
I live in Arkansas. I live in Northwest Arkansas on the Missouri and Oklahoma border, but I'm from Memphis, actually.
Oh, nice. Is it like flatlands? Can you see
actually, Arkansas, they call it the natural state. We actually have 4 different mountain ranges, or 3 different mountain ranges that go through here. So I live in the Ozark Mountains, but you also have the Boston Mountains here, and you have the Ouachita Mountains here. So West Arkansas, Basically, everything after Little Rock is pretty mountainous and hilly.
Because I went to Texas. I lived in Texas for about 6 months. And I'd never forget, the plane landed, they picked me up, and we were driving to Dallas. I don't remember where the airport is, but we drove to Dallas. But that ride, I remember looking to my right and seeing nothing but flat plains. And I was blown away. Because in New York, you don't see that anywhere. There's buildings everywhere. There's no, you can't see a distance. Right. There's always something there, you know? So driving through these flat plains, I was like, oh my God, it's so big, you know?
Yeah.
And then they were like,
it kind of lets you know how small the world is you know, when you're out there. I mean, you think of a place like Oklahoma, or, you know, I don't know how much you guys travel, but if you've ever been to like the Dakotas or Wyoming or something like that, I mean, we're populate. I mean, you guys being in New York, I mean, there's millions upon millions of people there. Was it like 11 million, 12 million people in New York City?
I have no idea.
You know, something stupid like that compared to, you know, I don't even think the state of Arkansas has 1 million people in it.
Word?
In the entire state.
That's crazy.
And if it does, it's not by much. So, you know, I kind of like it. But yeah, it kind of shows you when you're, you know, you can, as far as the eye can see, you know, you just see trees or flat land, like you said. It kind of shows you how small you are or how small the world is.
So when I had mentioned that the world is flat, you had your reaction. I feel that, so I could only do conspiracy theories to a point. Then it's like, please just leave me alone, you know. And one of my friends is actually, I told Noel, he lives in PA, and shout out to Jesse, he's been on the show. He sends me these weird conspiracy theories videos, and I'm just like, bro, you're gonna turn it to a cult, you know what I mean? I'm gonna have to save you. But the last one he sent me was the blue wave, right? So the blue wave is supposed to be this 300-foot wave that's gonna hit the city sometime this month.
This month?
Yeah, this month. So
all right, well, 15 days, we'll see.
I mean, I got my raft.
What made him think that was gonna happen?
Whatever. I mean, you know how they say that the U.S. currency has the predictions of the great events, like 9/11 was the $10 bill, something like that.
Yeah, you like fold it in half.
You gotta fold it and create the
I've seen
drawing. So there's a $100 bill that depicts that movie scene where the I forget which movie that there was a big wave.
It gotta be 20.
The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
that one. So they put, you know, you line it up. You could, you know, check it out. I probably should type it in, but you know, I can only do so much. It's like I just can't. Especially when they got that eerie music in the background. Dun, 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 dun. I'm like, I can't click.
Well, if he's right, just make sure y'all get this posted so everyone can listen first. So
run it now
before the wave comes. Jeez, we can save people.
Yeah. I mean, you'd think that we had something that could detect a large wave that could, I don't know,
seriously,
hit the city.
Even with the tsunamis that hit whatever Malaysia, whatever.
We see them coming from miles away.
Yeah, we know that they're coming. We let them know, like, hey, evacuate the area. You got, you know, whatever. You got 2 hours.
I mean, yeah, a 3 or how big is it? 300-foot wave?
Something like that.
Those don't sneak up on you.
Yeah, it would be all over the news.
Yeah, we know pretty quick. So I mean, we can see a hurricane coming for, you know, a couple weeks away. So a wave isn't exactly going to sneak by us.
Yeah. So there is one conspiracy theory, at least one, that I'm convinced could be possibly like to me the statistics is almost a very high 99% is possibility. And that's simulation theory. You ever heard of that?
It's simulation theory?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
go on.
his
I have not heard of
favorite.
this.
Okay, so simulation theory is basically to make it easy for everybody to understand. It's basically living in the matrix, saying that we can be computer programs within a computer program, but we're programmed to believe that we're alive and that everything we're doing is natural. Every decision we make is our own decision. But it's a possibility that we're just a simulation of whatever, some other race. Or even, okay, so the example I give is, you know, when I was a kid, I'm 35. So when I was a kid, I used to play Super Nintendo, right? Just now, I played with my son PUBG, which is like, you know, a shooter you run through is 3D. It looks, compared to Super Mario, that's a huge difference, right?
Right.
So over here in the other room, we have the Oculus Rift, which is like a VR. And you feel like you're in the game. I swear, you put that thing on, within 20 minutes, you forget you feel like you're in the game.
I barely play with it.
So the way I tell people is like, imagine in 100 years from now what we're gonna have.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna feel like we're actually living that life.
So I was telling Noel that there would be stages. Eventually, your phone would be sort of like contacts, right? There'll be stages of it that we adapt to. But what he's getting at, go ahead, keep going.
So what I'm getting is in 100 years or even less, whatever, we'll be so ingrained into those video games, those VR, that we'll just believe that that's our life. So what I'm saying is eventually technology is going to get to the point where we can program a computer to believe that it's alive in the game, or whatever the simulation.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of books and movies, like George Orwell's 1984, kind of Ready Player One that came out recently. All I know is that I hope I'm very dead by the time that stuff happens. So,
well, I don't know. It seems like a lot of this crazy stuff is going down right now.
It's just one of those things where, like, I just don't want to live through that, man. Like, I'm already not that. I mean, I used to work in technology and IT, so. But with all that said, I hate that, I'm attached to my phone. I hate that, everything's so. It's just, I think it's ruining, generations of how to communicate with people and how to interact with people. So I don't want to sound like an old man, but what I mean?
I know what you're
I just don't want to be alive for that down the road.
So it's funny. So like when I was a kid, if you wanted to talk to a girl, you have to actually physically approach her,
right?
And talk to her. Nowadays, people talk to each other on the phone. They text each other. Boom, boom, meet me over here. It's totally different way to communicate with a woman, right, Jose? You know about that, right? So. I physically would, when I was a kid especially, I would physically meet up with a girl, talk to her. I give me, whatever. I meet up with you in this corner, or I'll pick you up from wherever. Now it's all text messages. I remember when I was a kid. So in New York, everything's like a grid. Basically there's blocks.
Yeah.
You've been to New York, so you know what it's like.
Yep.
So when we were younger, it was just, meet me on the block at whatever time, 5. So you would just show up there and hope that everybody else showed up. If somebody was late, you wouldn't know. You just show up and wait. Or if you didn't communicate with them, or you couldn't communicate with them, you would just stand on the block all day. People would just randomly show up. You hang out with whoever showed up,
Right.
And nowadays, you barely see anybody hanging outside, just standing on the corner like it used to be.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, even when I remember when I would get toys for Christmas. I mean, the first thing I'm doing is going outside to play with them. I don't care how cold it was, but man, I don't see kids outside playing anymore. Yeah. And a lot of that is because people are crazy and they'll come snatch your kids up. But a lot of that is also technology. It's just like, hey, I got you this new video game instead of something that, makes you interact with another human being. And I think that's really unfortunate. I mean, you guys have probably seen it. Like, you're out, having dinner with your lady or something like that, and you look at a couple who they're both at dinner on their phones and, just having no conversation. They might be texting each other for all I know, but like, it's just, there's no real interaction. And, I've had to interview people before, and I have to question whether or not these people have autism, because I'm like, know how to interact with humans?
So that's very interesting too, because that right there is very true. The fact that they don't know how to have social interactions is a symptom of autism.
So
right,
you remember the guys? Remember the guys we met? Some of the guys we met at the convention. The Star Trek.
You meet him with a Star Trek convention. He actually has a Star Trek show on right now.
That's right.
We're big Star Trek fans.
And they were individuals that we would start a conversation with them, and then they wouldn't know how to. First of all, how to talk about anything else.
Yeah.
And second, they came into the conversation. They would walk right up to you and say, "That was my favorite episode, and we had a good show." And then they don't know how to end the conversation either.
Yeah, they would just like walk away. It was something weird.
It was crazy.
I feel like it was so weird because we almost felt like the only normal people there, and everybody was just so weird the way they interact with each other.
Well, then what's normal, right? I don't believe in normal.
I don't know.
I don't think there's a
standard. I think we're the last generation of that, because we're all about, I'm 30. So, I feel like we're the last generation. Basically, if you were born after, I don't know, like maybe 95, 96, somewhere in that neighborhood, you really have grown up with technology. I mean, we grew up with imagination.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
Word.
you know, it's not the same, man. I mean, kids are 2 years old. They know how to work an iPhone. You know,
Definitely true.
they know how to play video games. That just wasn't the case when we were coming up.
Yeah.
At my job, a lot of the individuals that apply, their skill level's really low, right? They're older individuals, and I tell them, our application process is, it's automated. It's in our computer, So I tell them, listen, just have your child, tell your child, your grandchild, call them over. They'll be able to figure it out for you.
Right.
And in most cases they do, and it's just like, so imagine this generation, these children that are being born today, imagine the tools that they're gonna have. There's we've shown and talked about videos of people that they're now creating a omnidirectional treadmill for the VR, for the virtual reality. So
Wow.
in Star Trek, I don't know if you watch it, but in Star Trek, there's a holodeck room, and that's their version of entertainment. They could also run simulations, whatever you want. And basically, you walk into the room projects whatever you need. So if you want to go skydiving, it takes out the gravity, and you're floating, and then it projects the images, the wind, the water, the sound, everything you need to create that event.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're slowly getting there, but what I was telling Noel is that's somebody dying upstairs.
Somebody, just so you know, we're actually in the basement.
So,
Did the wave hit?
so I was telling Noel that it's actually gonna get to the point where, like, Black Panther had that sand material for the suit. So we'd be wearing something like that, and we could change the image. So I could have a suit on, I could have a nice shirt. And when I want to recreate something, I could actually, the suit would expand, cover every inch of my body, and the tactile feedbacks based on whatever I want to see or project I would be able to feel the surface of a table or the hair of a woman. And that's where we're headed. And we're going to be old men in wheelchair, just like blown away.
Yeah.
I like look at my dad, I'm like, yeah, this is a phone. And it's just like, he's 83. So it's like, damn, I'm going to be like this.
You know what? You know what's going to drive technology like that? The porn industry.
Yeah. Oh, it's always been, right?
Robots.
Well, I mean,
The first time a
Porn
camera
industry.
was created, it was like, take off your blouse.
you know, it's funny that you say that. So I read a book recently that kind of talks about technology. I mean, you think of a country or a country like Japan, who's a very, technology forward country. But one thing that they're struggling with right now is actually population control or population. They're worried about their future, basically.
Yeah.
So where you think of Asia and you're like, well, there's a lot of those people, and China has 1 billion people, whatever you want to say, but Japan actually has a real problem that they're worried that their race or that their nationality, their people are going to die out in a few generations because they're actually trying to give government incentive for people to have kids, more than 2 kids or more than 3. They're trying to have as many kids as possible. But what studies are showing is that a lot of the people that are between 18 and 30, they're actually becoming asexual. So they're really not interested in any kind of sexual behavior, whether it be straight, whether it be gay, whether it be whatever. So obviously that creates problems in terms of procreating. And that's what you're really starting to see here in America as well. I mean, one good thing is that teen pregnancy is down. So that kind of tells you that the younger generation isn't super into sex. But one thing that it also says is, like, people are having babies later. I mean, I'm 30, I don't have kids. And, people aren't having 5 or 6 or 7 kids anymore. It's usually, families are having 1 or 2 kids. A lot of them stop at 1, or they just don't want to have children at all. So, I think population control is needed, but that's also a worry for the human race moving forward, that as technology kind of grows, I think you're going to really start to see, not necessarily civilizations wiped out, but you're going to start to see a dilution in the human race.
Great.
All right, so let's just get back into it.
What were we talking about?
We were sorry about the technical difficulties.
We were talking about the Asians becoming asexual.
Oh, that's good.
This is a good way to start.
That's great.
Oh my gosh.
I almost want to not talk about that now.
It almost sounds like we're getting off the rails here.
Yeah, moving on.
All right, you know what?
Yeah,
Let's actually just move on.
Let's just move on. That's a great
All right,
idea.
so let me just jump into one last conspiracy theory. You ever heard of the reptilians?
I have not.
This actually goes together with the Illuminati stuff. Because they're saying that there's aliens that came to Earth. One of the examples are Area 51. Somehow they have something going on with the governments of the world. They agreed on something. And the aliens live underground of Area 51 is one of the spots they live underground. And they're part of the Illuminati that control the world. And that some of the people that we think are regular people are actually the reptilians that have some sort of camouflages. Look, right, we just found the website. How to spot reptilians running the U.S. government. And one of the examples that people give all the time is the fact that when you're watching somebody like, I think Hillary Clinton was one of them, where if you watch her
Really?
interviews, her eyes get funny, almost like they blink sideways instead of normal.
Well,
Yeah, I know, this is the worst conspiracy theory out of all of them. But
Actually, check this out.
there is a case of a guy that said that he worked for the U.S. government, that he said that he was in some sort of facility, that they had an elevator, that they said you're not allowed to go past a certain point down. But he accidentally went down, and when the doors opened, he saw a reptile. And that the reptile took out a gun and shot at him because he wasn't supposed to be down there. But the door closed right before it got him or something, and it burned off some of his fingers. And he was on video saying, hey, look, my fingers are burned off by this alien space weapon or something.
I see. This is where yeah. I mean, conspiracy theories start to go. Oh, you know what, guys? I just realized I'm not recording my side.
All right, so this coincides with the Illuminati.
You can see the images now on your screen, right?
Can you?
Can I?
Marcus, can you
Yeah,
see?
I can.
Can you
Yep.
see? Oh, awesome. Sweet. Alright,
Good old technology.
Yeah. So see if you can see the image of them blinking. See if you can pull that up. Reptilians blinking.
You have control of it too. You're not.
I'm not. Am I on the channel?
Good. So we could do videos again?
Can we? Oh, he can see the videos then, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what y'all are looking at over there.
Lower that.
Careful.
Can you hear it?
No, I can't.
All right, so let's just turn the volume off because I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Let's see if we catch her blinking sideways. All right, so this is not good for actual audio.
Yeah, right.
But there's a video of Miley Cyrus. She's blinking. Apparently, it's supposed to be some sort of weird blinking going on. I don't know what's people's obsession with
It goes
this.
from side to side, right?
Or the colors
there's
change. Look, they're going to show it right now. Boom. Saw that?
Oh, come on.
That looks like some Photoshop or
Yeah,
something.
it is, man. It truly is.
So this is supposed to be their whole shtick, that the aliens came to Earth. They have some agreement with the governments of the world that they're underground. They have underground bases. I think Area 51 is supposed to be one. And there's this guy that claims that he took an elevator down. I think it's Area 51. I'm not sure. He went down further than he was supposed to. And when the doors opened, there was a reptilian standing there. And the reptilian shot him with some sort of laser gun or a beam. And it burned off some of his fingers.
See,
So now the curious thing about this guy is that he did get killed a few weeks after he made this announcement.
there's just certain things I can't get behind.
Yeah, that's definitely
That's the stuff that's just straight up goofy to me.
This is the Alex Jones stuff.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's
far off the rails.
if people believe that, I start to think less of them as humans.
Yeah. So just to make a round loop back to the first conspiracy theory, have you ever heard of somebody called William Cooper?
I have not.
He wrote a book called Behold the Pale White Horse. It's an old book.
Okay.
But apparently he wrote this book, Behold the Pale White Horse, made him real popular. He used to work for the government.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, you looking it up right now? You gonna look it up? So he works for the government. So he's like revealing secrets, quote unquote. One of the secrets he said that aliens came to Earth and making communications with the government, and they actually showed them footage of ancient man. Like they're like, we've been watching you for a long time, right? But beyond that point is the fact that he said that there's going to be some sort of big event that's going to go on in America, and they're going to blame Osama bin Laden. This was before 9/11.
Wow. Okay.
And then when 9/11 rolled around, he has a radio show, and he announced it. Hey, look, I told you, they're trying to get us all. And then apparently cops got called to his house, and they shot him. 2 cops. So to me, that's one of the most convincing conspiracy theories out there. Is that guy, William Cooper? You got to look him up.
Yeah.
If you can see him on your screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to look him up.
Well, there's a lot of, maybe that's not the guy I'm thinking of, but there's a lot of guys that like. There was a journalist who was getting ready to expose the CIA or the involvement in 9/11, how it was an inside job, and as what typically happens when you go against the government. All of a sudden you commit suicide and go crazy, and your family is killed too. So you end up killing your whole family and killing yourself. So
yeah. I remember when Hillary Clinton was running for president, they were like, "Don't say anything bad about her. She's gonna kill you."
Yeah, I mean, but that's crazy because everyone that went to testify against Hillary Clinton or say something about her, I mean, there was like 5 or 6 people that ended up dead.
They committed suicide somehow.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people committed suicide by shooting themselves twice.
I mean, yeah, which is insane, and talented. So what a waste. But yeah, it's a lot of crazy stuff out there, man, and it's just.
And this isn't new. What's that comedian? There's a comedian that went on The View years ago when Bill Clinton was president, and he was joking around. Oh, is it Norton? No, I don't remember his name. But anyway, he went on The View and he was saying on The View, Bill Clinton kills people. And they were like, you can't say that. He's like, oh, I thought everybody knew already. Like, as a matter of fact, the Clintons kill people. So this is not new stuff. This is old.
Yeah, this is actually old. I remember reading this when I was a teenager and getting into the whole conspiracy theories as a young man. But
yeah. To me, he's the main conspiracy theory guy.
He put a cap on it there. So, but I mean, again, it goes back to the fact that, you can't prove or disprove anything. And it's interesting to get into some of them just because, for me, the mindsets of individuals like that I really believe in this stuff is like, how did you get to this point?
Right.
Who convinced you? You know what I mean? Like, who got you? Because
like the flat Earth, that came out of nowhere. Just 1 year, out of nowhere, everybody was like flat earther.
Yeah,
it's true.
Well, it was spiked by Kyrie Irving, the point guard for the Boston Celtics, who said he believed that the Earth was flat. And,
I heard about that. Yeah,
and yeah, you know what I mean. It was just that kind of sparked this whole debate. And again, man, it's like, really, the Earth is flat? I mean, we've proven that it's round. I mean, that's been proven time and time again. So,
well, that's the thing, right? So I was watching. They were covering the clips of the hurricane from this Hubble, the space station, and I'm looking at the image. I'm like, I could do that with Adobe, right?
You make it look round.
Yeah, I can make this a blue ball.
Yeah. But I think for me, it always comes down to why would they hide that? How does that benefit the government?
So the benefit, because I think that the idea is the 1%ers, the one that we don't know about. I think that the idea is that if the Earth is flat, then there's a creator. There's the doubt of there being a creator. It's undeniable at that point. Because to say staying a flat idea of an existence suggests of a creator. For them, making money is these other theories that usually are made up. Like technically, they're just theories, right? Like evolution, for example. So I don't know. I have no idea, bro.
What if this, right? What if the Earth is flat and there is an ice wall that goes around, like they say?
Yeah.
But if you zoom further out, we're actually inside of a petri dish.
Hell, I mean,
and that's why they keep it a secret. They're like, people are gonna lose their minds if they figure this out. So we gotta keep it shut.
So maybe that's the reason. But there is a reason, and the Earth is flat, son.
I mean,
if I'm dead in a week, that means I got it right.
I don't know.
But I mean, all I'm saying is, there's a reason that when it's daytime in the United States, it's nighttime in Asia. Because the sun would if the Earth was flat, it would be sunny everywhere, all day, every day.
Actually, we did a podcast about the flat
We
Earth,
did a podcast.
and they have an explanation for that too.
They got a spaceship
Yeah.
for everything, you know? If you sit there long enough, you're like, oh, snap.
So the funny thing about the flat Earth conspiracy theory is the fact that mathematically, if you take in the math the way they say it is, it could work. So the sun is not as big as it is. They say it's actually smaller and not that far away. So it looks huge, but it's actually small. So because it's so small, if it's far away from China, it's nighttime over there. That's their.
Or imagine a round table and you take a flashlight, like a laser beam flashlight, and that's the sun, that it covers as the direct area, and you're just, with a hand, you're just spinning it around.
Yeah.
The edges of the table, so whatever you're covering is what is considered daytime in that particular point of the table.
Yeah.
But the rest is experiencing night, giving the suggestion, well, who's holding up the light? Who's holding up the moon?
But also, if the sun was that small, how would it have so much power for so long?
And if things go on the other side, why is it that we see the moon and the sun together? Sometimes you can see the moon.
Yeah, I don't remember that explanation. I don't know.
It's crazy.
Whoa.
Whoa.
So yeah, so I don't know. I can't go for that one.
I think for conspiracy theorists, it's obviously in our nature. We grow up constantly trying to discover things. You see your children, Noel, for example, constantly discovering something new and figuring out, my limbs can climb. I think that we all get to a certain point where we start questioning, damn, that fan got to turn off.
You can hear it?
Hell yeah, I can hear that fan. He just closes the door. Unplug it. Stop being a faggot. Those are strong words. It's okay. It's okay. I even lost what I was saying. So, it's all in our nature to discover, then to ask the question, who am I and where do I fit in this thing? And what is this thing? Right?
Yeah.
But for some people, they just get dumb hooked. They're just Alex Jones. That's why I say be careful what you look into. And this is advice for anyone. Be careful what you look into, because you could easily get totally lost in that.
Yeah.
And, they'll chew you up and you're a cult.
Before you know, you're a Scientologist.
Yeah.
It's a strong word.
Or a Mormon, depending on what you believe in.
I was talking to another friend, and he was explaining how, also I use the same, I give that advice along with the media. Like I said, I could recreate that globe spinning from the Hubble, from the space station. The media really, they could paint whatever picture. I was watching during the hurricane, there was a meme that came out, I think, on Reddit, and the guy was pretending that
Like
there's
the wind
wind,
was strong, yeah.
and there were two regular people just walking by, like there's no problem.
Did you see
and
that?
He got caught.
Yeah.
Marcus?
Yeah, I did. And it's just like, I mean, we all know the media is just full of shit,
Yeah.
That's just, depending on what your news source is, it's just garbage. I mean, yeah, that's the direct, or, that was the most insane thing I saw all weekend. This guy pretending that, he could barely stand. These dudes just do
Hilarious.
two dudes out eating ice cream. You know what I mean?
They're just walking, strolling
around.
by like nothing.
So when it comes to the planes, going back to 9/11, going to the planes that were DC and in PA, it could be, and I don't know if this is accurate. Someone check me out, right? Fact check me. I believe that the president has the ability to, deny, he does not tell the media exactly the truth behind the situation. The president could have ordered to shoot down those planes after the two planes in 9/11, and the president could have ordered, that national security, I had to shoot them down, or the one percenters told me to do it. So
They'll never say that.
they don't have to, right? They could just send the jets themselves. That's how powerful they are, right? But that the reason why the media was because they were told for national security, this is the story.
Yeah, the story is that they fought back in...
They fell and the things just disappeared. They melted into the ground, but the planes crashed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, we've proven that we can scramble airplanes. The Air Force can scramble up fighter jets in like 19 seconds and be ready to shoot something down. I mean, there's so many things with the 9/11 conspiracy case that, I mean, you talk about like some people have gone back to Google Maps in 2001, the day before, and there was already a hole in that exact spot where the plane in Pennsylvania went down. I mean, there's all types of stuff that, you know.
Yeah, but I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that this is not to me. This is not a conspiracy. It's not far-fetched that the president said this is going to look really bad. So let's just put it out there that the plane crashed. The idea, especially for his presidency, that I ordered, these two non-responsive airplanes to be shot down. It doesn't look good for my next run, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's too far-fetched to believe that.
I actually think 9/11 is what got George Bush reelected, other than the fact that he was running against a complete dumbass and
you
John
know
Edwards.
it's crazy too that when 9/11 was taking place, everybody thought Giuliani was gonna be the next president.
Oh my
They
God.
everybody from New York loved Giuliani, but now everybody hates him.
Yeah, he's proved to be a real scumbag now.
What a turn of events,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, he handled 9/11 so well, and now you're looking at like, man, this dude's probably a lunatic. But that's the Trump era we live in. All the lunatics can just come
That's
out,
right.
I guess. So
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even. Is he crazy? Is he crazy because he's crazy, or is it because he's with Trump?
I mean, if anyone who aligns themselves with Trump at this point, is either crazy or just, I mean, I don't know, or just, I really have no idea what to say about it. I mean, but Giuliani has proven, that he's a liar. I mean, just like a lot of the guys on that side, the extreme side of the Republican sphere right now, I mean, you look at Brent Kavanaugh, the judge that they're trying to, the Supreme Court judge they're trying to nominate. I mean, just holes everywhere, man. And the people that align themselves with this presidency is just, I think we're going to look back on it in a few years and be like, how the hell did this happen?
Yeah, I think there's a guy running for governor in New York, and he said something very interesting. He said that we had Bernie Sanders gave hope to people, right? To a certain group of people. Trump also gave hope to a certain set of people. But what happened was the Democratic whatever organization, they kind of superseded that and they put Hillary ahead of Bernie, like themselves, even though people wanted Bernie because it gave them hope.
Yeah, but Bernie wasn't a Democrat, though.
Yeah, I know, but he was running on the Democratic. He should have not. Let's be real. He should have not.
I think
He should have probably just ran on his own thing.
I think the real
And-
problem is Bernie sucked, Trump sucked, Hillary sucked. I mean, if that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
best
that's
three
100%.
candidates we can come up with, we got a
But
bigger
of the
issue.
three candidates, did you vote? Do you want to share that information? Who do you think was the best option?
Ugh.
That's see right there what he just said. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
the problem.
asking me if I'd rather eat an ice cream sandwich off the bathroom floor or off the streets of New York City, or off the subway or something.
Yeah.
None of them are good options, and I still got to eat off the floor. So,
It's going to be interesting this next cycle.
yeah,
The next cycle is going to be
think
interesting.
about
I think
like
the worst would be the subway, then the city, then your floor, because
I don't
maybe you
know.
mopped it mad good. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe,
Mad
but I
clean.
heard that the bathroom's dirtier than some subways.
Damn,
yeah,
so
it's
then-
just. I mean, I did vote. I actually, I under no circumstances could have voted for Donald Trump in good conscience. I mean, I couldn't believe that it got this far, and B, I just couldn't. I mean, the dude is just he has brought out the real scum of the earth.
He did, though.
In this country. But so I voted for Hillary. It was one of those things to where I personally think that, what I originally wanted to do was write in a vote, and I would have voted for John Kasich out of Ohio. But I started to think that, if I'm going to vote, let's not waste the vote. Do I say, hey, I'm not voting for Trump, and it's either Trump or Hillary, no matter who else is running. You had that moron Gary Johnson who was on the ticket, so do I really make my vote count for nothing, or do I try to fight against the ultimate evil, which I think is Donald Trump and the racist and misogynistic and ignorance that he brings out? Or do I just say, I don't like Hillary, I think she sucks, but at least it'll be status quo for the next 4 to 8 years. But
I think that's the biggest issue with Trump is that he brings, especially with his damn tweets, he brings out the worst in some people.
Yeah, and he really needs to stop tweeting and just talking in general. Just take care of the business, and
shut
it
up.
would be so much easier.
We would forget.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So let's not forget that it's a marriage between him and the media. Right? The amount of money the media makes off of his stupid comments alone.
That reminds me of the.
If he would stop tweeting and talking and like doing speeches, just stop talking. The media would have nothing to cover.
Yeah. Oh. That reminds me of that. There was a report of this guy from CNN, the black dude with the glasses, that he was saying that when Trump won, it was a white lash. I can't remember the guy's name, but
white dude with glasses.
No, it was a black dude, a bald dude with glasses.
A bald dude with glasses.
Yeah, I forget his
name.
Oh,
you're talking about his last name's Jones too. Van Jones.
Yeah, Van Jones. Because some group of people, whatever, they somehow started working for CNN with hidden cameras, and they went out for like a lunch or something with him, and they asked him about the whole Trump Russia thing. He goes, "Oh, it's a big nothing burger. It's just for ratings."
Yeah.
And it's just like, whether there was something there or not, they were still gonna eat it up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, and that's the thing.
It's all about money.
Like you get a lot of stuff about Trump that like isn't really a story. Honestly, what it comes down to for me is like I have Trump fatigue. I can't really.
Yeah.
It's just seeing Trump's face, hearing Trump's voice. I just don't want it. When I see it on the screen, I just move away. You know what I mean? I get tired of that's all I hear. Like I was at my my in-laws' house, and they had on, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel or something. Basically, the whole hour is just basically shitting on Trump.
I wanted to just ask you. So, do you think he'll win again?
That's it.
Man, it wouldn't surprise me because I can't think of anyone that the Democrats have put up that's worth a damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just feel like it's time for something new.
Again?
A new wave. Something got to change, yo. Both sides are so extreme. It's hard because if you vote for one side, you're literally voting for the extreme of that.
Right.
There has to be some sort of middle ground. So there's going to be a new party coming out, guaranteed.
You're talking about your boy?
Talk about my boy.
Who's that?
There's a guy in New York called Larry Sharp. He's running for governor. And I really like this guy. He's different. You just gotta. I mean, look it up. You make your own decisions. But I really like him. I like his ideas.
I like Beto O'Rourke down in Texas, but man, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump won again.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
You would just hope that seeing what's going on now kind of helps the younger generation really get out there and vote. So we'll see.
You know what it is? It's a tug of war. When one guy pulls, the other guy wants to pull hard too. So it's just a constant. Right. And that's why I think the extremes are like out of control. Both sides are out of control.
I agree with you. That's why I thought, people who wanted Bernie, it was like, well, communism isn't a great idea either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look up this guy, Larry Sharp.
So I think that makes sense, and I think they make sense. I think there are individuals that are on both sides that are tired of hearing the same thing from their own parties. When you said it's the same status quo, I think that on the left they just got tired of the same thing, and that had a result in this new election. And I think the same is true for people on the right. And I do agree that a change is coming, but the fact that people are so most people are so uneducated or unaware of what's going on, it shows that the government is doing exactly what it's setting out to do, to control.
So do you think Trump is part of the Illuminati? You think he's part of that plan?
Absolutely. Heck yeah. And he's the funniest one.
I think Hillary Clinton.
Because if you don't take him serious, if you listen, just like if it was a skit, it's pretty funny. Hilarious.
He just goes off the cuff. That's
just hilarious.
I guess that's why they're making so much ratings.
They're on it. High numbers. Right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, it's just a money grab for sure. I mean, you got to think CNN, Fox News, no matter what you watch, it's all owned by the same corporation.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Baby. So that's the one conspiracy theory we all agree is got to be true.
The media is
the Illuminati. Yeah, so I think Trump is part of the Illuminati. Right?
I mean,
Some more technical difficulties again.
he's probably the least smart person in the Illuminati. So
So you think maybe Hillary Clinton was actually part of the Illuminati and Trump was just some weird random occurrence?
no, I wouldn't say all that. I think that Hillary made the mistake of overplaying her hand and thinking that, like, you know, she didn't go to the states that she was supposed to go to, Wisconsin and Minnesota, which are typically democratic states. She just figured she had that in the bag. And Trump played. So when you have idiots, you play to idiots, right? So it's the classic Bill Clinton thing. So Bill Clinton's from Arkansas, and whenever he's in the South, he's got a thick-ass Southern accent all of a sudden, but he's also a Rhodes Scholar, so when he travels, you never hear that accent again. So,
That's
and it's the same thing with Trump. Like, oh, hey, poor people, I'm a billionaire, but I care about you, and things are going to change. I'm here to make everything better for you, and even though I have nothing in common with you, and I think that you're a peon and won't know that you exist ever, vote for me anyway, because I can do better than the black guy that you probably don't like. So he played up on all of that, and Hillary didn't take advantage, really. She just assumed that everyone would hate this cretin that Donald Trump is, and she guessed wrong.
Yeah.
And again, there was right after that when he won, there was something that came out that showed how much money the media spent on Trump and how much Hillary spent on her campaign.
It was billions of dollars different.
Yeah.
No, it was the same. I think it was the same thing. What he spent, what Donald Trump spent, is nothing compared to what Hillary
right.
spent.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was a million.
And the media spent $8 billion, and she spent something close to that.
I mean, you got to wonder where the hell Hillary Clinton is getting all that money from. So
All the people she killed.
It's interesting that the Clinton Foundation is done, shut down.
right. Well, it should be.
Dun, dun. Yeah.
What happened?
Right.
We're gonna save the world. What happened to that?
Yeah.
No more saving the world. We're done with this.
I'm not president. We're not saving nobody. All right. Yeah, this was a great conversation. This is our first time doing
we should explain
remote
that
podcast. Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, man. Well,
That was
thank
fantastic.
you. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I definitely enjoyed it. This has been one of the funner podcasts I've done. Is funner a word? More fun? More fun.
Funner? We can make it work.
Wait, so you've done this before with other podcasters?
No, actually, I just mean in general. Typically, most of my podcasts are about sports. So this is actually my first time being a guest on someone else's podcast, though.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so sorry for the technical difficulties. Check us out, thebasementny.com. Check out our boy.
Yeah, Marcus, you want to say what you're...
Yeah, Two Smart
Where you're
Dummies
at?
podcast. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. So if you are into sports, be it the NBA, the NFL, anything really, that's what we cover on the Two Smart Dummies podcast.
we're gonna put all the links in the description below. So definitely check them out. Give them a like. And that's all we
Yes,
got there.
sir. Thank
I can't
you.
believe we're doing this, bro. We're living the dream.
Live the dream.
Two losers doing the dream. So yeah, check us out, thebasementny.com. Thanks again. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.